Hey everyone, and welcome to this deep dive. We love to really dig into a topic, and today we're taking on The Psychology of Winning by Dr. Denis Waitley.
Oh, yeah. This is a classic.
It is, and we're going to unpack the key insights so you can really start to level up your life.
Yeah.
I'm really happy to have you here with us today to help break down these powerful concepts.
Me too.
And speaking of powerful, we've got an expert with us who seems to devour books like this all the time.
All right. All right. Maybe not all the time.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely fascinated by these big ideas about how to live a better life.
Yeah, it's like distilling years of research and wisdom into these actionable steps.
Totally. And Waitley doesn't mess around. He compares life to a game,
Okay.
but not just any game. It's like the Super Bowl with the intensity cranked up to 11.
So no breaks then?
No timeouts,
Yep.
no substitutions.
Wow. Okay, that sounds pretty intense.
It is, but here's the cool part. You have the power to choose how you play. You're not just along for the ride.
So how do we take control?
Well, Waitley talks about these three types of players: spectators, defensive players, and offensive players.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Spectators, they're just watching life happen from the sidelines. Like they're in the stands.
Got it. So what about the defensive players?
They're reacting to everything, always on the back foot. But offensive players...
Those are the winners.
Exactly. They're the ones shaping the game.
I like that analogy. So as you're listening to this, think about which type of player are you? And more importantly, which type do you want to be?
That's the key question.
Now, Waitley introduces this idea of the winner circle. It's made up of three interconnected arenas.
Our outer world, our physical self, and our inner world.
Right. He uses this image of three concentric circles with your inner world at the very core. Your thoughts, beliefs, attitudes.
It's like a ripple effect.
Exactly. What's happening in that inner circle influences your physical well-being. And that affects how you show up in the world.
Totally.
And here's where it gets really interesting. Waitley emphasizes that abundance exists in each of these arenas.
We often get so caught up in what we're lacking.
That we miss all the good stuff already around us.
Exactly.
That is a powerful reminder to shift our perspective and start recognizing the abundance all around us.
Absolutely.
And to tap into that abundance, Waitley says we need to cultivate the right mindset.
Which brings us to the 10 qualities of a total winner.
These aren't just some random character traits.
Yeah.
They're like mental muscles anyone can develop.
Exactly. It takes practice and intention.
So let's start breaking them down. First up, positive self-awareness.
This is about more than just knowing your strengths and weaknesses.
Right. It's about having a really clear and accurate picture of yourself, being open to feedback, even when it's tough to hear.
Totally. Waitley talks about recognizing how much we don't know.
And being open to learning and growing.
Yeah, he has this great quote: have the wisdom to walk in another person's moccasins.
I love that. It's a call for empathy, stepping outside of our limited perspective.
Exactly.
Closely tied to self-awareness is positive self-esteem.
And this isn't about arrogance or having a big ego.
Right. It's about recognizing your inherent worth as a person.
Exactly. Waitley makes this fascinating point. Sometimes people who are born with advantages like wealth or fame, they actually struggle with self-esteem.
Why is that?
Because they haven't faced the same kinds of challenges that force them to develop inner strength and self-reliance.
So true. It's like they haven't had to prove their worth to themselves.
Which can make it harder to truly believe in their own value.
Exactly. Waitley emphasizes that true self-esteem comes from within. It's not about what others think or what you achieve. It's about recognizing your inherent worth no matter what.
And he points out that low self-esteem often shows up as negative behavior.
Like being super sensitive to criticism or always needing approval.
Yeah. It's like they're trying to fill a void inside by getting validation from others.
Instead of recognizing their own inherent value.
Exactly.
Which brings us to the next quality, positive self-control.
This one's about taking responsibility for your actions and choices.
Realizing that you have the power to shape your life.
Rather than feeling like a victim of circumstances.
Waitley challenges the idea that we're just products of our environment or upbringing.
He believes we have way more agency than we often give ourselves credit for.
We have the power to choose our responses, even in tough situations.
Yeah. It's like that saying, losers let it happen, winners make it happen.
I mean, that can sound a little harsh.
It can, but the underlying message is about empowerment.
Right. It's realizing we're not just passengers in life. We can grab the wheel.
Exactly. And that sense of agency is crucial for the next quality, positive self-motivation.
Waitley says everyone is self-motivated to some degree.
The question is, what's driving that motivation?
Is it fear?
Fear of failure, fear of judgment,
Or is it desire?
the desire to grow, to learn, to create, to make a difference.
Fear can be a powerful motivator in the short term,
But it can also lead us to play it safe and avoid risks.
settling for less than we're capable of.
Desire, though, that's a much more powerful and sustainable force.
It fuels passion and creativity.
It pushes us toward our goals.
Waitley uses this analogy of a quart jar to represent the mind.
Winners fill their jars with positive thoughts.
They visualize their goals and focus on what they want,
Losers tend to fill their jars with doubts, fears, and worries.
dwelling on what could go wrong.
Right?
It's about recognizing we have a choice in what we feed our minds. Do we nourish ourselves with positivity and possibility, or starve ourselves with negativity and doubt?
It's a powerful choice.
And this leads us to positive self-expectancy.
This isn't about being delusional or unrealistic.
Right. It's about cultivating a deep belief in your ability to achieve what you set out to do.
Exactly. Waitley talks about the power of the self-fulfilling prophecy.
If you believe you're going to fail, you're more likely to sabotage your efforts.
But if you believe you're going to succeed, you'll find ways to make it happen.
It's about cultivating an optimistic outlook that helps you face challenges with confidence and resilience.
Waitley even talks about the mind-body connection.
He gives examples of how our thoughts and expectations can literally affect our physical well-being.
He talks about voodoo death, where people believe they're cursed and actually die as a result.
That's wild.
It shows the power of the mind.
It really does. Our thoughts are incredibly powerful.
And they can have a real impact on our health.
Which brings us to positive self-image, the sixth quality.
This is about having a clear vision of yourself as the person you want to become.
Aligning your inner reality with your aspirations.
Exactly. Waitley delves into the workings of the subconscious mind. He compares it to a robot that controls our actions based on its programming.
So our subconscious is running on autopilot.
In a way, yes. This robot is operating on the beliefs, experiences, and self-perceptions we've gathered over time, often without us even realizing it.
Okay, so how do we change that programming?
Waitley suggests we need to reprogram our robot by changing our self-image.
And how do we do that?
He recommends using visualization techniques to create a vivid mental picture of yourself as the person you want to be, embodying the qualities and achievements you desire.
So it's like creating a blueprint for our future selves.
Exactly. And then letting our subconscious mind work its magic, guiding us toward that vision.
And that takes us to the seventh quality, positive self-direction.
This is about having a clear sense of purpose, a roadmap for your life.
Not just vague dreams, but clearly defined objectives that you're actively working towards.
Right. Waitley says winners have goals, both long-term goals for overall direction and short-term goals that break down those larger aspirations into manageable steps.
I like that, breaking things down into bite-sized pieces.
It makes it less overwhelming.
It does. And he points out that we're all moving towards something in life, even if we're not consciously choosing our direction.
Our thoughts and habits are steering us, whether we like it or not.
So the question is, are you setting your own course or are you drifting aimlessly, letting circumstances dictate your path?
It's a question worth asking.
He challenges us to take control, to become the captains of our own ships, to chart a course toward our desired destination.
But to navigate effectively, we need positive self-discipline. That's the eighth quality.
And this is where a lot of people stumble. They think discipline is about being hard on themselves.
Depriving themselves, forcing themselves to do things they hate.
Exactly. But Waitley makes a really important distinction. Self-discipline isn't about punishment or deprivation.
It's about making choices that align with our goals and values, even when they're difficult.
It's about having the willpower to show up for ourselves, to do what needs to be done, even when we don't feel like it.
He uses the analogy of an athlete training for a competition. They don't just show up on the day of the event and expect to win.
Right, they've put in countless hours of training.
Pushing themselves beyond their comfort zones, making sacrifices.
But they do it willingly because they're driven by the desire to achieve their goal.
They understand that self-discipline is the bridge between aspiration and achievement.
Exactly.
And just like athletes train their physical muscles, we need to train our mental muscles. The more we practice self-discipline, the stronger it becomes.
And Waitley also highlights the power of mental rehearsal.
He gives examples of how athletes and astronauts use visualization to prepare for high-pressure situations.
By repeatedly visualizing ourselves succeeding,
We're essentially creating a mental groove that makes it easier to perform at our best when it matters most.
we're mentally preparing for success.
Exactly.
And that brings us to the ninth quality, positive self-dimension.
This is about seeing yourself as part of something bigger than yourself. Your family, your community, the world.
It's about recognizing that your actions have an impact on others, and that true success involves contributing to something beyond your own self-interest.
It's not about sacrificing your own happiness or
Right.
success.
It's about recognizing that true fulfillment comes from aligning your goals with a sense of purpose that goes beyond yourself.
It's about finding that sweet spot where your passions and talents intersect with the needs of the world.
And finally, we reach the 10th quality, positive self-projection.
This one's about presenting your best self to the world.
Communicating effectively, building strong relationships.
Waitley points out that people form impressions of us very quickly, often within the first few minutes of meeting us.
So first impressions are crucial.
They are. He says it's important to project confidence, warmth, and authenticity.
How do we do that?
He emphasizes nonverbal communication, a firm handshake, direct eye contact, a genuine smile.
Those subtle cues can make a big
He
difference.
can. They convey trustworthiness, openness, and a willingness to connect.
And he also talks about the importance of active listening.
Really paying attention to what others are saying, asking clarifying questions, reflecting back what you've heard to make sure you understand.
Because the best way to build rapport is to be genuinely interested in others.
To focus on their needs.
Yeah.
And to make them feel heard and valued.
It's a reminder that true connection comes from giving, not just taking.
Exactly. It's about fostering mutual respect and understanding.
So there you have it. The 10 qualities of a total winner as outlined by Dr. Denis Waitley,
It's a comprehensive framework for personal growth and achievement.
covering all aspects of our being.
From our inner world to our outer interactions.
It's about developing a winning mindset that empowers you to create the life you desire.
But remember, these qualities aren't fixed traits.
They're skills that require constant practice and refinement.
The journey to becoming a total winner is ongoing. It's a lifelong pursuit of excellence.
And it's a journey that Waitley believes anyone can embark on, regardless of their background or circumstances.
He is a firm believer in the power of the human spirit to overcome challenges and achieve greatness.
Now, you mentioned earlier that Waitley doesn't sugarcoat things.
He doesn't.
One of the realities of life is that things don't always go according to plan.
That's for sure. Setbacks and failures are inevitable.
But it's how we respond to those challenges that defines us.
Exactly.
And this is where Waitley's emphasis on self-control, self-motivation, and self-expectancy comes into play.
He argues that winners don't dwell on their failures.
They see them as learning opportunities.
Temporary detours on the road to success.
He uses a brilliant analogy to illustrate this point, the coral analogy.
Oh, I love that one.
Waitley points out that the most vibrant and flourishing coral reefs are the ones located on the outer edges, where they're constantly battered by waves and currents.
The coral growing in the calmer, protected lagoons tends to be weaker and less colorful.
It's like those challenges, those storms we face in life
Yeah.
that ultimately make us stronger.
Precisely, Waitley's message is that we shouldn't shy away from challenges. We should embrace them as opportunities for growth.
And this ties into his emphasis on positive self-talk. He encourages us to reframe our failures, to view them not as defeats, but as stepping stones to success.
Instead of saying, I can't do this,
Try saying, I'll figure out a way.
or I'll get it right next time.
It's about shifting our mindset from defeat to possibility.
Exactly.
You know, one of the things that really struck me as I was rereading The Psychology of Winning was Waitley's focus on contribution.
Yes. This is where his concept of positive self-dimension really shines.
He argues that true winning goes beyond personal gain. It's about making a positive impact on the world around us.
He talks about nurturing relationships, serving our communities, leaving the world a better place than we found it.
And it's not about sacrificing our own happiness or success for the sake of others.
Right. It's about realizing that true fulfillment comes from aligning our goals with a sense of purpose that extends beyond ourselves.
It's about finding that sweet spot where our passions intersect with the needs of the world.
Exactly.
Now, I know you're a fan of Waitley's insights into the subconscious mind. I'd love to hear your thoughts on his approach to changing our self-image.
Waitley's analogy of the robot is so brilliant. It highlights how powerful our subconscious minds are, but also how literal they are.
They don't distinguish between what's real and what we imagine.
Exactly. So if we constantly feed our robots negative self-talk, they'll believe it and act accordingly.
But the good news is we can reprogram our robots.
By consciously choosing to focus on positive thoughts and images.
Waitley gives us some really practical techniques for doing this, like visualization and affirmations.
He encourages us to create a vivid mental picture of ourselves as the person we want to be.
Embodying the qualities and achievements we desire,
It's like creating a mental movie of our ideal selves and watching it over and over again.
allowing those images to sink into our subconscious minds.
And as we do that, our robots start to believe it's possible, and they begin to guide us towards that vision.
That's a fascinating process.
It is.
I'm sure a lot of our listeners are wondering about practical tips they can start using today. What are some of Waitley's most actionable insights?
Well, one of his most powerful suggestions is to start each day with a positive affirmation.
Like what?
Something like, it's going to be a great day, or I'm feeling healthy and energized.
It sounds simple.
It is, but it can have a huge impact on our mindset,
It's like setting the tone for the day.
priming our subconscious minds for success.
I like that.
Yeah.
And what else?
Waitley also talks about surrounding ourselves with positive influences.
Seeking out mentors.
Read you inspiring books,
Yeah.
spending time with people who lift us up and support us.
Because our environment has a huge impact on our thoughts and behaviors.
It really does.
He also encourages us to make time for self-care,
To nurture our physical, mental, and spiritual well-being.
whether it's exercise meditation, spending time in nature, or pursuing creative hobbies.
It's about making sure we're taking care of ourselves, so we have the energy and resilience to pursue our goals.
And another practical tip Waitley offers is to break down our goals into smaller, more manageable steps.
Big goals can feel overwhelming.
But if we break them down into bite-sized pieces, they become much more achievable.
Exactly. It's like climbing a mountain. If you focus on reaching the summit, it can seem impossible. But if you just focus on taking one step at a time, you eventually get there.
That's a great analogy.
Hey.
Waitley also encourages us to celebrate our successes along the way,
No matter how small they might seem.
because recognizing our achievements, even the little ones, helps to boost our confidence and keeps us motivated.
It does.
And finally, he reminds us that the journey to becoming a winner is ongoing. It's not a destination, but a process.
It's about continuously striving to improve ourselves, to learn and grow, to make a positive impact.
Waitley encourages us to embrace the journey, to enjoy the process, and to never stop learning and growing.
It's about the journey, not just the destination.
Exactly. Now, one of the things that makes the psychology of winning so engaging is that Waitley uses real-life examples to illustrate his points. Are there any stories from the book that particularly resonated with you?
Oh, there are so many. But one that always comes to mind is the story of Maurice Chevalier.
Oh, yes. The legendary French entertainer. Tell me about it.
Early in his career, Chevalier had a nervous breakdown right before he was supposed to perform on stage.
Oh, wow. That must have been terrifying.
It was. He felt like a complete failure, and he was convinced his career was over.
So what happened?
His doctor told him to rest and relax.
Okay.
And eventually, Chevalier started to feel better physically.
But was he still afraid to perform?
He was. He was terrified that he would have another breakdown.
So he had lost his confidence.
So his doctor encouraged him to face his fear head on.
To go back on stage.
Exactly, even if it was just for a small audience.
That must have taken a lot of courage.
It did. He was still scared, but he went on stage and he performed beautifully.
Wow. What happened then?
And as he performed, the joy of performing came back.
And his fear melted away.
It did. It's a powerful reminder that sometimes the best way to overcome our fears is to just take action.
Even when we're scared.
Even when we're scared.
Waitley uses Chevalier's story to show us how important it is to not let fear paralyze us.
Winners acknowledge their fears, but they don't let them control them.
They find a way to push through the fear and do what needs to be done.
And often, like in Chevalier's case, facing our fears is what ultimately sets us free.
Now, another story that stuck with me was the one about Lee Trevino, the golfer.
Oh yes, Trevino is a great example of positive self-expectancy.
He's known for his incredible optimism and his unshakable belief in himself.
Even when he faced setbacks, like getting struck by lightning.
No way.
Yes, and having back surgery.
Wow. But he never gave up.
He never lost his positive outlook. He always expected to come back stronger than ever.
And he did. He won tons of championships.
He did. It proves that our beliefs about ourselves can have a huge impact on our results.
It's true. We often become what we believe we are.
We do.
Now, speaking of beliefs, one of the main themes in the psychology of winning is the power of the subconscious mind. Waitley dedicates a whole chapter to the self-image.
And how it shapes our reality.
It's fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
He says that our self-image is like a blueprint that guides our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors.
He uses the analogy of a thermostat.
Okay, I remember that. Tell me more about that.
Well, thermostat is set to a specific temperature,
Right.
and it automatically adjusts the heating or cooling system to keep it at that temperature.
So our self-image is like our inner thermostat,
Exactly. Our self-image is set at a certain
a
level,
level of success, happiness, or whatever we're focusing on.
and our subconscious minds work to keep us at that level, even if it's not good for us.
So how do we change our thermostat setting?
Waitley suggests that we need to reprogram our self-image by consciously choosing to focus on positive thoughts and beliefs.
Like what?
Visualizing ourselves succeeding, affirming our strengths, surrounding ourselves with supportive people.
So it's about retraining our subconscious minds to see ourselves in a new light.
Exactly. And as we do that, our behaviors start to change, and we begin attracting experiences that align with our new self-image.
It's like upgrading our thermostat.
To a higher level of success and fulfillment,
We'll like that a lot.
it's not a one-time fix.
Right.
It's an ongoing process.
It takes consistent effort and attention.
So we have to stay committed.
We do. Waitley encourages us to be patient with ourselves, to celebrate the progress we make, and to never give up on our dreams.
Because real transformation takes time.
It does.
And speaking of transformation, one of the things that really resonated with me was Waitley's emphasis on the power of choice.
Our power to choose how we respond to what happens in our lives. Yes. This is where his focus on self-control really comes in. He argues that while we can't always control what happens to us, we can control how we react.
Right. There's that quote.
It's not what happens to you, but how you take it that really counts.
Exactly.
So simple, but so powerful.
It is. Our perception often carries more weight than reality itself.
We can choose to view setbacks as opportunities for growth.
Or let them defeat us.
We can focus on the positive.
Or get bogged down by the negative.
Waitley encourages us to take ownership of our emotional responses.
Cultivate resilience. To look for the good in every situation.
It's about shifting from passive to active.
Becoming the architects of our own experience.
And this idea of actively creating our experience ties right into Waitley's focus on goal setting.
He's very clear that winners have well-defined goals.
Goals they're actively pursuing.
Goals give us direction.
Purpose and motivation.
They provide a roadmap for our lives.
And help us stay focused on what really matters.
Waitley even gives us a framework for setting effective goals, what he calls SMART goals.
Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
Exactly. It's not just about dreaming big.
It's about creating a plan to make those dreams a reality.
And he emphasizes writing those goals down.
Reviewing them regularly.
Breaking them down into smaller steps.
There's something about physically writing down your goals.
It makes them feel more real, more tangible.
Like you're making a commitment.
You are, and breaking them down into smaller steps makes them less overwhelming.
More manageable.
Waitley also encourages using visualization.
Yeah, solidify those goals.
Creating vivid mental images of achieving them.
Tapping into the power of the subconscious.
Which doesn't distinguish between what's real and what we vividly imagine.
So by visualizing our goals,
We're programming our subconscious minds for success.
I like that.
Yeah.
And Waitley doesn't stop at external achievements.
No. He recognizes that true success involves all areas of our lives. Our relationships, our health, our spiritual well-being.
It's about striving for balance.
And fulfillment in everything we do.
He emphasizes self-care.
Taking time to nourish ourselves, physically, mentally, emotionally.
Because if we're not taking care of ourselves,
We won't have the energy or resilience to pursue our goals effectively.
that's so true.
Mm.
One of the most impactful chapters for me was the one on positive self-discipline.
He draws such a clear distinction between self-discipline and just doing without.
It's a point that often gets missed. People think discipline is about restriction and deprivation.
True self-discipline isn't about punishment or deprivation,
It's about making choices that align with our goals and values.
even when those choices are hard.
He illustrates this perfectly with the athlete analogy.
The athlete doesn't just show up on competition day expecting to win.
Right. They've put in countless hours of training, pushing their limits, making sacrifices,
And they do it willingly.
because they're driven by that desire to achieve their goal.
Exactly. They understand that discipline is the bridge between wanting something and actually getting it.
It's about having the willpower to do what needs to be done, even when you're not feeling it.
And that requires being clear about your goals and values.
And making a conscious commitment to aligning your actions with them.
the more we practice self-discipline,
The stronger it becomes.
like any muscle, it needs to be exercised.
And you know, Waitley is really funny,
He is. He injects a lot of humor into his writing.
which makes it even more engaging.
It does.
One of my favorite quotes from the book is, "Losers live in classic style, in the never world of someday all."
Oh,
It's a great reminder to not put off our dreams.
To take action now.
Another quote that always sticks with me is, "Everything in life is what you make it. It's not what is that counts, it's how you take it."
Oh, and so powerful.
It speaks to the power of perception,
We have the ability to choose how we see the world,
to look for the positive and the possibility.
instead of letting negativity cloud our experiences.
Waitley encourages us to practice gratitude.
To focus on the good, to look for the silver lining.
He emphasizes that we have more control over our thoughts and feelings than we realize.
We're not just victims of circumstance.
We have the power to choose our thoughts,
To shape our beliefs.
to create the reality we desire.
We can become aware of our self-talk.
Challenge those negative thought patterns.
And replace them with positive affirmations.
And again, visualization comes into play.
Creating those vivid mental images of achieving our goals, programming our subconscious minds for success.
I'm sure a lot of our listeners are looking for tips on how to communicate better.
Oh, yeah.
What are some of Waitley's key insights on communication?
One of the most important things he talks about is becoming an active listener.
Most people are so focused on what they're going to say next,
That they don't truly hear the other person.
which leads to all sorts of misunderstandings.
Miscommunications, strain relationships.
Exactly. So Waitley encourages us to practice active listening,
To pay attention to both the words and the nonverbal cues.
asking clarifying questions,
Reflecting back what we've heard.
to make sure we understand,
It's about being present in the moment.
putting aside distractions,
Truly focusing on the person we're with.
and when we give someone our full attention,
It makes them feel heard.
valued and respected.
And that's the foundation of any strong relationship.
Waitley also highlights the importance of body language,
He points out that nonverbal cues often speak louder than words.
like our posture, eye contact, facial expressions.
It's about projecting confidence, warmth, and authenticity through our body language.
And of course, being assertive in our communication,
Clearly and respectfully expressing our needs and opinions.
but balancing that with empathy,
Trying to understand the other person's perspective.
finding common ground.
Effective communication is a two-way street.
It's about speaking our truth and listening to understand.
Exactly.
Another key theme in the psychology of winning is the importance of taking responsibility for our lives.
Waitley says winners don't blame others or make excuses
They own their choices.
and accept the consequences.
This sense of ownership empowers them to learn from their mistakes.
To adapt and move forward with confidence.
It's about recognizing that we have the power to shape our destinies. The chapter on positive self-projection was really fascinating.
Waitley says we're constantly projecting an image of ourselves to the world.
Whether we realize it or not,
And that image has a huge impact on how others see us.
and even how we see ourselves,
So it's important to be mindful of the image we're projecting.
to make sure it aligns with our goals and values.
He talks about things like dressing for success,
Maintaining good posture,
taking eye contact,
speaking with confidence,
and just as importantly, projecting warmth, enthusiasm, and authenticity.
because people are drawn to those who are genuine.
People who are passionate about what they do.
Now, I know you're a big proponent of visualization.
I guess.
Can you talk a little bit about how Waitley uses visualization in the psychology of winning?
Waitley is a huge advocate for visualization. He argues that our minds are incredibly powerful.
And that by using our imagination,
We can create the reality we want.
so how do we do that?
He encourages us to visualize our goals as if they've already happened.
To really feel the emotions associated with success.
To create those vivid mental pictures of ourselves living our best lives.
The more detailed and emotionally charged those visualizations are.
The more effective they'll be.
Again, the subconscious mind doesn't differentiate between what's real and what we imagine.
So by repeatedly visualizing our goals,
We're programming our subconscious for success,
our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors start to line up with our vision.
and we start attracting experiences that reflect that new reality.
It's a powerful technique.
That can be used for so many things.
From improving athletic performance to attracting the right relationships to building successful businesses.
Waitley suggests making visualization a regular practice.
Taking time each day to quiet the mind, to connect with ourselves.
To create a mental movie of our dreams coming true.
It's a simple but profound practice.
That can have a transformative impact on our lives.
It can.
I'm sure some of our listeners are wondering about how to boost their self-esteem.
Yeah. It's a common concern.
What insights does Waitley offer in that area?
One of his key suggestions is to stop comparing ourselves to others.
He calls comparison the thief of joy.
When we're constantly measuring ourselves against others.
We always come up short.
We do. Instead, Waitley encourages us to focus on our own strengths and talents,
To celebrate what makes us unique.
to strive for progress, not perfection.
I like that.
He emphasizes self-acceptance,
Embracing ourselves for who we are.
flaws and all.
When we learn to love and accept ourselves.
It becomes easier to love and accept others.
He also talks about practicing self-compassion.
Being kind to ourselves when we make mistakes.
Remembering that we're all works in progress.
It's about shifting from judgment to encouragement and support.
What about people who are looking to improve their leadership skills? What advice does Waitley give?
Waitley defines leadership as the art of influencing others to achieve a common goal.
Okay.
He says that effective leadership isn't about power or control.
It's about inspiration.
Motivation, empowerment.
The best leaders are the ones who can create a shared vision.
Build strong relationships.
Inspire others to do their best.
Leadership isn't a position or a title.
It's a way of being.
It's about stepping up, taking responsibility, setting a good example, empowering others to reach their full potential.
Waitley also talks about the importance of integrity,
Authenticity.
a commitment to serving others.
The most effective leaders lead with their hearts as well as their heads.
They're not afraid to show vulnerability,
To admit when they're wrong.
to prioritize the needs of their team above their own ego.
Exactly.
I find it really inspiring that Waitley doesn't limit success to external achievements.
He doesn't.
He sees true success as encompassing all areas of our lives.
Our relationships.
Our health.
Our spiritual well-being.
It's about striving for balance and fulfillment in everything we do.
Understanding that success is not a destination, but a journey.
It's about continuous self-improvement,
Learning and growing.
making a positive impact on the world.
Waitley encourages us to embrace the journey, to savor the process, to never stop learning and growing.
What makes the psychology of winning so timeless is that it's rooted in universal principles.
Principles that transcend time and culture.
He's not offering quick fixes or trendy self-help gimmicks.
He's sharing timeless wisdom.
Insights that have stood the test of time.
He draws on wisdom from philosophers, psychologists, spiritual teachers.
Successful people from all walks of life.
And he delivers these ideas in a clear, concise, and engaging way.
Making them accessible to everyone.
He does.
For those who are trying to find a stronger sense of purpose in their lives.
It's a common search.
What insights does Waitley offer?
Waitley believes that each of us has a unique purpose.
A special gift to offer the world.
He encourages us to discover our purpose by exploring our passions,
Our values.
our strengths.
He also talks about connecting with something bigger than ourselves.
Whether it's a spiritual belief, a humanitarian cause.
Or simply a commitment to making a positive difference.
When we align our lives with a sense of purpose,
It gives us direction.
motivation,
Like deep sense of fulfillment.
he encourages us to ask those big questions. Why am I here? What am I meant to do? What legacy do I want to leave?
Discovering our purpose isn't a one-time event.
It's an ongoing process.
Of exploration.
Reflection.
It's about paying attention to those synchronicities in life.
Following our intuition.
Being open to new possibilities.
Waitley acknowledges the tough parts of life.
He knows that setbacks and failures are inevitable.
But he emphasizes that they don't have to define us. He encourages us to see challenges as opportunities,
To grow.
to learn from our mistakes.
To use setbacks to become even stronger.
He compares us to a tree bending in the wind.
Okay.
A rigid, inflexible tree is more likely to snap in a strong wind.
But a tree that can bend and sway.
And more resilient, more adaptable.
So we need to be flexible.
We do. When we can bend and adapt to challenges,
We're less likely to break.
we can use challenges to build resilience, to develop problem-solving skills.
To deepen our understanding of ourselves and the world.
Exactly.
For people who are wanting to improve their relationships, what advice does Waitley give?
Waitley sees relationships as one of the most important sources of happiness and fulfillment.
So how do we nurture those relationships?
He stresses the importance of nurturing connections, spending quality time together, communicating openly and honestly.
And what about forgiveness?
He encourages us to practice forgiveness, to let go of past hurts.
To focus on building strong, supportive relationships?
Relationships that nourish our souls.
He also highlights the importance of self-love.
Recognizing our own worth and value, treating ourselves with kindness and compassion.
When we love and respect ourselves.
It becomes easier to love and respect others.
And our relationships reflect that.
They do.
What about inner peace? What guidance does Waitley offer for finding that?
Waitley believes that inner peace isn't something we find outside of ourselves.
It's a state of mind.
We cultivate it through our thoughts, beliefs, and actions.
So how do we cultivate inner peace?
He encourages us to practice mindfulness, to be aware of the present moment without judgment,
To focus on our breath.
to calm our
To
minds.
connect with our inner stillness.
He also talks about gratitude, appreciating the good things in our lives, no matter how small they seem.
When we focus on what we're grateful for,
Our perspective shifts,
from lack to abundance.
and that shift can have a big impact on our inner peace
He also encourages forgiveness.
of ourselves and others.
Because holding on to anger and resentment,
Just creates more suffering.
when we forgive,
We free ourselves from the burden of the past.
and we open our hearts to peace and healing.
Exactly.
A recurring theme in the psychology of winning is the importance of living with intention.
Waitley encourages us to be conscious creators of our lives,
To make choices that align with our goals and values.
to take responsibility for the outcomes.
You're not just passive bystanders.
We have the power to shape our own destinies,
He encourages us to set clear goals,
to take consistent action.
to never give up on our dreams.
And he reminds us that the journey is as important as the destination,
It's about enjoying the process,
learning and growing along the way.
making a positive difference.
What's really inspiring about Waitley's work is his belief that anyone can achieve success,
He doesn't believe it's limited to a select few.
or that it's determined by our circumstances.
He argues that success is available to anyone.
Who's willing to put in the effort
Develop the right mindset.
and never give up,
He encourages us to embrace our potential,
to believe in ourselves?
to create the lives we want.
One of the most powerful ideas in the psychology of winning is that our thoughts create our reality,
Our thoughts are like seeds,
that we plant in our minds,
and the thoughts we focus on the most.
are the ones that will grow.
So we need to be mindful of our thoughts.
Challenge those negative patterns,
Consciously choose to focus on positive, empowering thoughts.
because our thoughts impact our feelings,
Our behaviors.
our experiences,
Waitley believes we can change our lives.
by changing our thoughts.
I know a lot of our listeners are interested in building resilience.
The ability to bounce back from setbacks and challenges.
What does Waitley say about that?
Waitley defines resilience as the ability to adapt and thrive in the face of adversity.
Okay.
He says resilience isn't something we're born with.
It's a skill we develop.
There's effort and practice.
So how do we develop resilience?
He encourages us to see challenges as opportunities for growth, to learn from our mistakes, to use setbacks to fuel our determination,
He also talks about maintaining a positive outlook,
focusing on the good.
looking for the silver lining.
Our attitude towards challenges has a big impact on our ability to overcome them.
So true. He also encourages us to build strong support systems.
To surround ourselves with people who believe in us, people who can encourage us when we need it most.
It's so helpful to know that we have people we can count on.
It is.
He also stresses the importance of self-care.
Taking care of ourselves, physically, mentally, and emotionally.
When we take care of ourselves.
We're better equipped to handle challenges.
Waitley reminds us that resilience isn't about being invincible.
Or never experiencing setbacks.
It's about having the strength to get back up when we fall down,
To learn from those experiences.
to keep moving forward.
With courage and determination.
One of the things I really appreciate about Waitley's work is that he doesn't shy away from the spiritual side of success.
He recognizes that there's more to life than just achievements.
He encourages us to connect with something larger than ourselves,
Whether it's a spiritual belief, a humanitarian cause,
or simply a commitment to making a positive difference,
when our lives are aligned with a sense of purpose,
a purpose that goes beyond our own self-interest.
it gives our lives deeper meaning and fulfillment,
Waitley believes we're all part of something much bigger than ourselves.
and that our lives have a ripple effect.
He encourages us to live with intention,
To make choices that reflect our values.
to strive to make a positive impact.
What I find so refreshing about Waitley's approach is that he doesn't offer quick fixes or trendy self-help fads.
Right, he's sharing timeless wisdom.
Insights that have stood the test of time.
He draws on wisdom from philosophers, psychologists, spiritual teachers.
And successful people from all walks of life,
And he explains it all so clearly.
making it accessible to everyone.
I'm sure some of our listeners are interested in developing their creativity.
It's a common desire.
What does Waitley have to say about that?
Waitley believes that creativity isn't a talent reserved for a select few,
He sees it as a skill
that we can all develop,
through practice.
and by nurturing the right mindset.
So what's the right mindset for creativity?
He encourages us to embrace our curiosity,
To ask questions,
to experiment.
to be open to new possibilities.
He stresses the importance of allowing ourselves to make mistakes,
Because often
Mistakes are the stepping stones to breakthroughs.
we learn from our mistakes,
We do. He sees failures not as endpoints,
but as opportunities to learn.
chances to adjust our approach and try again.
He also talks about the importance of surrounding ourselves with inspiration,
Whether it's through art, music, nature,
or by spending time with creative people.
inspiration sparks our imagination.
Helps us see things in new ways,
He encourages us to make time for creative pursuits.
even if it's just a few minutes each day.
The more we use those creative muscles,
The stronger they become.
exactly. Waitley also points out that creativity isn't limited to artistic expression.
Yeah.
It's about finding innovative solutions,
Thinking outside the box.
approaching life with a sense of playfulness and wonder.
I really like that. One of the things that makes the psychology of winning so effective is that Waitley goes beyond just theory.
He gives us practical tools.
Techniques that we can actually use.
He doesn't just tell us what to do.
He shows us how to do it.
He offers specific exercises for developing each of the 10 qualities.
He includes worksheets,
And checklists,
affirmations.
tools for tracking progress and strengthening our commitment to personal growth.
He even encourages creating a personalized psychology of winning plan.
Outlining our goals, our strategies, our action steps.
It's a really practical approach.
It is. It makes it easier to implement his ideas.
And to get results.
I'm curious about what he says about intuition.
Me too. What does Waitley say about developing that inner knowing?
Whaley believes that intuition is a valuable source of guidance and wisdom.
And that it's available to all of us.
He encourages us to quiet our minds,
To listen to that inner voice.
to pay attention to the subtle cues and synchronicities in life,
He says to trust our gut feelings.
even when we can't explain them logically,
Because sometimes our intuition knows things.
things our conscious mind hasn't figured out yet.
He suggests making space for intuition.
Exploring practices like meditation or mindfulness
Opening ourselves up to guidance.
from sources that go beyond our rational understanding.
Developing intuition is a process.
It takes time and patience.
And a willingness to trust that inner wisdom.
It does. What makes the psychology of winning so relevant today is that it addresses the challenges of navigating our fast-paced world
He recognizes how much information and stimulation we're bombarded with constantly.
and how hard it is to stay focused and centered,
He encourages us to simplify our lives,
to focus on what truly matters.
to set boundaries that protect our time and energy,
He also talks about the importance of developing healthy coping mechanisms
to manage stress,
to prevent overwhelm.
whether it's through exercise, meditation, spending time in nature, or creative pursuits,
It's about finding what works for you.
and making self-care a priority.
One of the central messages in the psychology of winning is that success is not a destination. It's a journey,
It's about embracing the journey,
enjoying the highs and the lows.
never stopping learning and growing.
True success isn't about external validation or achievements.
It's about living a life that has meaning,
A life that's fulfilling.
a life that aligns with our values,
It's about becoming the best versions of ourselves.
and making a positive difference in the world. It really is. It's about creating a life that feels right for you, a life that reflects what's important to you.
Absolutely.
And that makes me think about creativity.
Yep.
What does Waitley have to say about developing creativity?
Waitley believes that creativity isn't some special talent that some people have and others don't. He sees it as a skill,
Something we can learn.
something we can develop through practice and by cultivating the right mindset.
So what is that mindset?
He encourages us to be curious, to ask questions, to experiment, to be open to new possibilities.
And he talks about the importance of allowing ourselves to make mistakes.
Because mistakes can lead to breakthroughs.
We can learn so much from our mistakes.
We can. He sees failures not as endpoints, but as opportunities to learn, chances to make adjustments and try again.
He also highlights the importance of surrounding ourselves with inspiration.
Art, music, nature. Spending time with creative people.
It's about feeding our imagination.
Seeing the world in fresh ways.
He suggests making time for creative activities.
Even just a few minutes each day.
Because the more we use those creative muscles,
The stronger they get.
I love that analogy.
Yeah,
And
I'll
Waitley
laugh.
points out that creativity isn't limited to things like art or music.
Right.
It's about finding innovative solutions to problems.
Thinking outside the box.
Approaching life with a sense of playfulness and wonder.
Exactly. One of the reasons the psychology of winning is so effective is that Waitley doesn't just talk about theories
He gives us concrete tools.
and techniques we can use.
He doesn't just tell us what to do.
He shows us how to do it.
For example, He gives specific exercises for each of the 10 qualities.
He includes worksheets,
Checklists,
affirmations.
all sorts of tools for tracking our progress and staying committed to growth.
He even suggests creating a personalized psychology of winning plan.
A plan that outlines our goals, our strategies, our action steps.
It's a very practical approach.
It is. It helps to make his ideas easier to use.
And to see real results.
What about intuition? What does Waitley say about tapping into that inner knowing?
Waitley believes intuition is a powerful source of guidance and wisdom, that it's available to everyone.
And how do we access it?
He encourages us to quiet our minds, to listen to that inner voice, to pay attention to those subtle cues and synchronicities.
He talks about trusting our gut feelings.
Even when they don't make logical sense.
Because sometimes our intuition knows things.
Things our conscious minds haven't quite caught up with.
So how do we develop our intuition?
He suggests making space for it, exploring practices like meditation or mindfulness, opening ourselves up to guidance from sources beyond our rational understanding.
It sounds like developing intuition is a journey.
It is. It takes time and patience, and a willingness to trust that inner wisdom.
What I find so relevant about the psychology of winning is that it speaks to the challenges of our modern world.
It does. He acknowledges how overwhelmed we can feel with information and stimulation.
And how hard it can be to stay focused.
To stay grounded.
He encourages simplifying our lives.
Prioritizing what truly matters.
Setting boundaries to protect our time and energy.
He also talks about healthy coping mechanisms.
For managing stress.
And avoiding burnout.
Whether it's through exercise or meditation or spending time in nature or being creative.
It's about finding what works for you.
And making self-care a non-negotiable part of your life.
One of the main messages in The Psychology of Winning is that success isn't a destination. It's a journey.
It's about enjoying the ride.
The ups and the downs.
Never stopping learning and growing.
True success isn't about what other people think or what you achieve. It's about living a life that has meaning and purpose. A life that reflects your values.
It's about becoming the best version of yourself.
And making a difference in the world.
I love that. If you're looking for a guide to living a more fulfilling and successful life, I highly recommend The Psychology of Winning. It's a classic for a reason. It's packed with wisdom and practical advice that you can use to create the life you desire. And it's a book you can return to again and again, always finding fresh perspectives and inspiration. So that wraps up our deep dive into The Psychology of Winning. I hope you found it as insightful and empowering as I did. And remember, as Dr. Waitley says, the game's always on and there's no better time to start winning than today.